Hey, 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 welcome back. Welcome back to the Virgo channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to do a general message for Virgo. Know that energy is fluid, rules could be reversed. Always interpret the message as it best resonates with you. Also, know on this channel and all my channels, I like to dive deep within the reading. So I do look at everything, but we take time to look at the spiritual blocks, the shadows, and see how they play it as karmic themes. This will allow you to understand why you're attracting who you're attracting. A lot of times we're like, why do I get the person that seems broken or the person that always seems to make relationships so difficult? Understand, every single relationship has significance, even the most insignificant ones. We might be like, that person came into my life and didn't really do anything, they just disrupted my life. And every relationship is teaching you something. The universe brings us people, situations, and experiences to help heal us. And when I say heal, it just means transform you back to your original state, which is unconditional love. That's the energy of the universe. That's the energy of God. That's the energy that's connected to each and every single one of us. That's the energy that when we're born, that's we're clear, we don't have perceptions or anything. What happens is we're born into families, societies, we inherit a lot of ancestral karma, and in that we're actually adapting to behaviorism and habits and stuff like that, which are what manifests. Hey, spectacular, right? So is that spectac spectacular spec. I think I'm saying that right. Anyway, um, so that so it's to understand that's the whole point for the insignificant relationships. When you're like, okay, so what's the whole point? Like a lot of times I see in the comments, there is no God. Like if there was love, why would this happen? It's like every relationship is teaching you, like hopefully to help you evolve into the best version of yourself. Understand, that doesn't mean that you don't trigger people's ego. I mean, unfortunately, it's like you have to clear out before you heal better. Things get worse before they get better. All right, let's see. If you want to enter into winning a free reading with me, like the video, subscribe to the channel, write the word of the video in your comment bar. Understand anything of any importance or relevance to the channel or anything that I forgot to say tonight, just because, like I said, I'm on late. I'm trying to wind down, get my mind off the grieving process. It's like, again, once you lose somebody, it's like it takes a few months for it to settle in, and then once it settles in, it's like a fucking roller coaster. So I'm trying to stay grounded. So anything that I forgot to say, just look in the description box. But the word of the video is going to be maliciousness. Ooh, I feel like you're like pissing somebody off. I feel like you're making somebody so mad because, like, you're not caring. You don't care like anymore. I feel like you got to a point where you're like, I'm tired. I'm tired of you trying to press my buttons. I'm tired of the breadcrumbs. I'm tired of you just not being transparent. I don't want to guess to be in a relationship. A relationship isn't this difficult. And so I feel like someone's mad that you're not playing along. They're not mad that they're mad that they have to put work in, really. And I feel like it's almost like if I'm going to put work in, like it can feel like this person, like just getting anxiety. And the thing is, they're confusing that anxiety with like anger and like, I don't want to do it and this and that. But it's a real fear of having to be transparent, of having to change. I've created this persona and you're making me change the persona. So again, that's if I'm not my persona, who am I? I don't like that version. So again, you're making this person feel vulnerable. I feel like they're sitting and they're trying to strategize. They're trying to figure out. but there's like not a nice energy underneath it. And this is what I mean, things tend to get worse before they get better. Like you said, you're dealing with somebody that actually has feelings. Why would they have a feeling like that? You may ask yourself, or you should ask yourself. And that's because you make them take a deep dive into themselves. They don't want to do that. You're making them change. Again, they created a persona. Without that persona, then again, it goes back to the wound. You make this person feel, you make them change. And really, they feel inadequate. And you're like, well, if anything, they make me feel inadequate. Well, again, they will project that, but it's because they don't feel comfortable. And they just don't feel comfortable being transparent. And the thing is, when you have a deep connection, it's like it's a spiritual connection. You don't have control over that, but there's a desire and that there's a want to share. There's a want to create intimacy. And intimacy at its basic level is trust. So there's a want. This person wants that too, but they don't trust it and they resent it. They don't, it's again, it's like I lose control. But then to be with someone like this, it's like you make me feel like I'm not wanted. Where it's like, no, they'd rather like have a whole conversation with you to find out information. It's deceiving in the fact of I'm getting information without building the emotional intimacy. But that's because I don't know whether I'm going to stay. Like this person always has one foot in, one foot out. And the thing is, they're the biggest night. They're the problem. They're the ones that get in their own way. They can't trust relationships, but they can't trust relationships because they don't give enough to relationships to build the emotional connection that is actually needed to sustain, the wears and tears of life, which is just what happens when you're living. Things happen. We change. We have opinions. It's not about going along with everything all the time or getting over. And that's what we see with this person, the deceiving, but I feel inadequate. So they're going to either act one way or they act the other way, but they're never in their true self because they don't know who they are, basing themselves on other relationships and the relationships that are actually in their life. They give way too much to. So they expected you to give more to them to overcompensate for that. Now, it didn't mean that they weren't creating the illusion that they were so busy, so important, having a lot of jobs. Of course they were, but understand it's that they didn't have to. They were in avoidance. So they give the time and the energy to people that are already fixtures in their life. The problem is that those people take advantage. And it's because they can see that this person doesn't really, they're not living their own life anyway. So it's like you give us the energy. We don't have to do certain things. You're going to do it for us. That makes you feel important. So it's again gives this person a false sense of importance, but really all they're doing is they're avoiding, actually being in a relationship, which is you're like, okay, so what's the whole point? It's like you come into my life and you're mad because I'm moving on and you didn't give me anything. And it's like, yeah, because understand there's almost like a prisoner, I feel like, to the people that they're dutiful for. So it's again, they're not creating their own life and where they're really building the emotional connections and having fun in their own life. They do things to feel accepted and feel needed and confusing that with love. But then it becomes exhausting and then it becomes expected and then it becomes disrespected. So where then this person again doesn't get the fulfillment that they used to. And here it is, you're not affected. You're living your own life. You're like, okay, you're not going to give me what I need. I'm going to detach from you. So again, this person is triggering them because they need healing in that spot. They feel like people hold them back. People take what's theirs. People that, no, they volunteer to do it. They don't understand that that's what they're doing. They're unconscious to what they're doing, to what they're creating. So again, having expectations a lot of times of, well, I'm going to be dutiful to these people and they're in return are going to give me whatever, the emotional fulfillment. That's not what happened. Then they thought, well, I'm going to hold back from you, give to this. I'm going to seem so busy. You're going to think that I'm so desirable, possibly even scare you. Then I'm going to meet somebody else. So you're going to come back in. That didn't happen. So it's all this strategizing and deceiving, all in what you might do, which the person's not grounded. They're not grounded. They're not coming from a true sense of self. And I feel like if this was a soul connection, you would also have expectations. Well, I mean, we had a connection, and spirit says that's not enough. That spiritual connection will hopefully awaken the person, but they don't know why they're awakening. They think, oh, I'm just attracted. Then it's like, oh, well, then this person triggers me. Well, then they don't realize that there's a lot of things happening internally to this person when they meet a soulmate. And again, someone that they're like, I have feelings for, but I'm not going to be vulnerable. My job is to try and make you vulnerable so you give me so I live safe. And because again, you didn't fall for it, it means now I have to change, and change is uncomfortable. It was good for me to be this way. Now you're making me change, and now I'm pissed off. Who the hell are you to make me change? What do you want me to chase you? What do you want? Again, this person is getting, because it's, they created confinements. I gotta show some vulnerability is what they're saying. It's like, no, I'd rather like be the martyr. It's like, again, I'll sacrifice my energy to the people that are around me. I'll hide. It's like, it makes me feel important. It gives this person a false sense of like being important, of being needed, being desired, but it's not. It's because they were taught to give in order to be loved at one point. So what they do is they get into the relationship, instead of building the emotional connection, they do all this weird shit so that you fall in love with a persona that doesn't really even exist, but who they think the persona is actually better than themselves. So all it's really doing is creating detachment, and they're avoiding their life. So of course they're pissed off that you're not like chasing me. You're not like, this is my life then. What a fucking boring life. Think about it. Your energy is going to like helping everybody else, to make you feel like you're important, to avoid life, to avoid love. So the only way that you can have love is through manipulation, because you don't really know whether you want it or not. It's like, but why is that? Because the relationships don't work out. Well, of course they wouldn't work out, not the way that you're navigating the relationship. It's like, again, you don't want to give anything and you want that. It's so, again, you have this reckless behavior of trying to manipulate, but also then trying to get fulfilled because they don't really have a life. It's like they're avoiding life. When we avoid the emotional connection of intimacy, and that's just trust at its basic level. That's, again, you create relationships over time. Trust is something that's established over time. This person comes from that lust part. They come from manipulation. They've operated from that lower energy. Do they know that? No. But they don't know who they are. They've been forced to be a good person. They're always in martyr, or they're always being dutiful. Same pretty much thing. I'm always self-sacrificing. My energy goes to other people. Why is that? Well, because they don't know who they are, or they were told who they were, and that's not a good version of who they are. It's never good when someone tells us who we are, and then we begin to live from that level of consciousness. We don't manifest good things. So there's a sense of, I don't trust me in relationships because I do everything, whatever the person wants, and then I hate the relationship because I lose myself completely in the relationship. And with you, I really have feelings. See, it wouldn't be a surface thing. I wouldn't be able to be here for a good time, not a long time, because I really have a connection. That's too much power. That's too much power. I'd rather hide behind the the facade that I'm a really important person, that I'm a really good person, that people need me. So you should need me too. But it's again, the need is not, it's like need is not healthy. Want is, need means attachment, and that's why this person doesn't, the relationships don't work out, because they need for that person to be like, I need for the relationship, but then they're like, who the fuck am I with? It's like the person like is crazy obsessive. They don't let them have a life, so they don't want that, but they think that they want that, they need that, they set it up to be like that. Once they're in there, they're like, I can't deal with this. And it's because the relationship isn't made that way. It's made over time. And so the actual, like, I want to punch this person in the head, but I still have feelings for him. It's like that spirit saying, it's meaning love is still there, even though it's hard, even though it's difficult, even though it's again, you can't, it won't be broken. So you actually are lovable. This person's like, I don't believe I'm lovable, because again, my relationships don't work out. So I would rather take the persona that I'm reckless, like I'm badass, instead of really I'm just me. I'd rather be a badass, or a good person, and like it's seen as something, because it matters what this person thinks, that it really matters what other people think. And that's really another problem, that this person doesn't have a strong sense of who they are. And then they got their love by giving and doing. And that's a codependent environment. And so they recreate that codependent environment in their relationships now that they're not growing up in that environment, and they can choose. It doesn't feel comfortable, because healing doesn't feel good. And it's also because they're not never coming from a place of, I'm confident about myself. I don't have to give my energy away in order to be loved. I'm actually, I relationships are happen over time. Love is built over time. It's not, oh, there's all passion and lust, and then it doesn't work out. It's not based on anything. So it's again, this person is like, it was never taught, and they've only lived those type of relationships. I have only witnessed relationships from those limited perceptions. So again, it's not reality. That's why you'd be like, I don't understand what this person is doing. And spirit says, you wouldn't. That's not your reality. It's that person's reality. It's like, well, how am I involved in that? And spirit says, well, definitely made you feel certain ways, but you're helping this person to look at them, look at again what that those codependent relationships are all about, being submissive, that one person has to give up their power. And the problem is once this person gets that, because they have done that before, they don't want it. And it's because it's like they're coming in like lowballing themselves. It's like going in for a job that you know that you're deserving of getting paid $25 an hour for, and saying, I'll only take $13. And then once you get in and for the job for $13, you're like, this is bullshit. John down the block, well, they get like $45 for the job. So what the fuck am I doing here? When meanwhile, you're the one that volunteered to be there. And it's like, because of, again, their anxiety of not coming from their true sense of self. And here it is. This is a profound connection you're going to make them feel, that makes them think about, am I good enough? Am I worthy? No, that all those answers are no. So you have to be submissive to what I want, because you're only going to leave anyway. And you have to prove it to me. You have to continually prove it to me. which means that that's very needy and it's very, like I said. And so if you don't do it, it's again, this person creates trouble where it's again, now I'm going to start talking to other people. I'm going to be avoid you. I'm not going to know how to have a conversation. And all these other wounds start popping up that you didn't even know existed. That you're like, wait a minute. It's like I thought we just had this problem. And spirit's like, no, because you're opening up a can of worms. This person like that looks okay, like from the outside, maybe a little avoidant, maybe a little domineering. Sometimes it's again, however, they're manipulative because again, if you're going to be coming from your true sense of self, you're going to want this person to be as well, and that's going to trigger them because they're used to being, again, I'm used to being the dominant one, I'm used to being seen a certain way, the giver, the doer. But it's not really what I want to really do either. So again, it's like a lot of different, like almost like bipolar energy, and they're unaware, like I said. And then, like I said, they detach, dissociate, which is they're distracted. They'll be like checked out. You'll be like, I feel like you're here, but when you're here, you're not here. So emotionally and mentally. And that's because, again, the anxiety of actually being in a relationship, and it's almost like they fall in love with the fantasy of like who you are instead of building like the connection. See, when it's the fantasy is what I perceive you are, is what I want you to be, is that's not who you are based on what they perceive off Instagram, Facebook, or with your job, or through just what you're showing them. Relationships run deep. So without that, it's again, they form their own perception of who you are, fall in love with that persona. And then once you're not that person, it's again, then it's like they get all these different weird feelings like, well, maybe I don't like this person. Well, why didn't I see that? And then they get in their own way. So, and this is all from trauma. So what works for them is their reckless behavior and then having someone chase after them pretty much, which is what you experience, which is what's like, I'm not going to do that. But again, doesn't mean that they didn't have feelings, but you'll be like, well, then what's the point? What kind of feelings will do? Can this person heal? Can this person rise? I mean, we always want to know that. Or what's the deeper meaning to the connection? Because it's like our energy is stagnant. Triggers sometimes happen to break stagnancy and help the energy flow again. So I feel like this person, if like you stay too long from like detached from them, they would come in and like try and like just say something to like create a trigger, get you to react. I need you to react. Because at least if you react, I can read you. So I'm not going to have a conversation. I'm not going to ask you how you feel. And I'm not going to be transparent about my feelings either. But you know what the idea is? This is how this person thinks. I'm going to come in and do something like obnoxious or pinch you as hard as I can to get a reaction. So that then this way I can say, okay, I perceive that you still have feelings for me. I can tell. And now I'm going to strategize some more. Now, what do I want to give? Now, what do I want to? So it's a lot of this, instead of just coming from the true self, this person's like creating like survival things. So it's again, the focus is on the relationship would never work. And it's because the focus is on not believing that it won't work because they're creating all these barriers to the relationship that don't make sense to the other person because the other person's just like wherever you're like, I don't like, all I know is that you're fine sometimes and then other times that you're not. And it's again, and then you'd like to get underneath my skin and I actually feel like you're happy when I get angry. And yeah, because it's like showing emotion. It's like, oh, show anger, that means you really must like me. It's a very immature energy. It's like it's I can't be transparent, and that's what you're dealing with when you're dealing with a person that's on a lower vibration. You are my true love and my heart and my soul, though. So if this is a real love, and so it's almost like, so why does it look like that? Into the spirit says that person is not emotionally intelligent. So it's like they're stagnant. So if they were suppressed at the age of 12, you're getting a 12-year-old in like a 55, 60-year-old man, you know what I mean? Or a woman, because you'd be like, why does it look like that? And it's because the trauma. I wasn't allowed to be vulnerable. I wasn't allowed. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed by my feelings. So that's what it feels like when I tap into this person. I'm embarrassed. Like I might melt. Like if you know the truth about who I am or how much I care about you or how I like I'm embarrassed by that. It's like almost like this person's not supposed to have feelings. Don't have feelings. Don't have emotions. Like they were told that. So it's like I don't know what to do with these feelings. They're too overwhelming. And then they bring them back to like why are my feelings uncomfortable? It creates a lot of emotional turbulence. But when they let themselves go, they go deeper into thoughts of you that open up their heart, which is the whole point, that this person's heart is closed. And that's why, again, they create all these barriers and facades of, I don't like myself, so I have to create these illusions you know, and have you jump through circus rings to prove to me, because then I'm going to feel safe and I'm going to feel secure. But when this person surrenders, it's like I still have feelings. And I let myself go, which is what spirit wants this person to do, is to say, let it go, surrender. You have to surrender. It's like too much like survival, and they get in their own head, and then that's when they're deluded, to be honest, and that's what happens. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out this connection. I've never experienced anything like it before. Well, obviously, they wouldn't like change themselves. The relationship is not because, oh, I you never experienced anything. It's because the passion makes you stop and think. Is that fire? Is that transmutation helps transmute that negative energy? It's like because it's like we wouldn't integrate it. It's like we think we're broken. We think that there's a shadow because it's like relationships don't work out. This person, like relationships don't work out. They don't see what they do. That's what a spiritual block is. It's like you keep doing the same thing, and so you're blocked. You're blocked in a limited perception of yourself. So you're creating that reality over and over and over again. But the universe is love, and and the universe always conspires to bring us what we need. We don't look for it, it just kind of happens. So, and we have no control over it. And so, like I said, this person is like learning about that spiritual energy, learning how to surrender, not because it's a choice, it's because there was unconditional love. It's like, and we can't control that. And so the universe, like, this is what it looks like. So, but it doesn't mean that this person isn't like a child that has never swam before. That the parents like, come on, jump into the water, and you see the kid, no, 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 and they like screaming, ah, like all over the place, and it's like you didn't even touch the water. You didn't even touch the water, but all that's this person is like that anxiety, and they're like, what can happen? And that is what a spiritual block does. It puts us into the fight, flight, freeze. And then we get scared, stupid, get in our own way. Self sabotaging behaviorisms is what you're going to get. And that's what you see all over this. So it's like it brings everything, goes back to making a person go back to love. Now, is it going to be a love affair for the rest of your life? Nobody's saying that. However, No one's saying that it's an insignificant relationship either. Our inner guidance is clear, but our ego is resisting it. And that's what I was saying that, no, I'm going into the water. No, it's like that. It's like, because they get in their own way. I want it, but I don't believe I can have it. I don't believe that it's real because I'm getting my own way. And that's, again, even if a person gets out of a situation and they say, I know that I could be loved. However, I don't know what that feels like. Because again, the disassociation from not having it and the fear of not having it is like, no, I can't like go back into that situation where I might lose it. It's like where I lose control because then who am I? I'd rather stay like stuck behind the illusions that everyone gets like that from being hurt over time. That's the way the psyche protects itself. But then the universe is like, oh, not today. It's like you have to go back to your true self, and we're like, I don't know who my true self is anymore because now I've changed. And so then the spirit brings always different situations and experiences to help us see things, to approach life differently, to handle life differently, so that we can forgive, so we can let go, so we can surrender. This person, again, there's resistance. There's a lot of resistance. We are alchemists. We transform fear into love and shadow into light. So it's again, Spirit says, yeah, there's wounds. And that's what this is about. That's why you're like, well, it's love, but why does it look fucked up? And Spirit says resistance, fear. It's a process. The ego just doesn't come down. It's at walls of protection. However, we have to say, well, is the person going to come back? Obviously, there's love here, alchemist, passion, fire, transmutation. Never felt this love like this before. It's like, of course, this is a past life connection. However, doesn't mean that it's an easy street connection. It means that there was wounds inside of you that this person brought to the surface. So it may not look lovey-dovey right now. It may look like, well, this kind of looks like love on the rocks, ain't no surprise. And Spirit will say, well, it is. Because again, that the wounds will keep you on the rocks. But it's to be able to find yourself again, that during the separation, what this the person brings to the table to help with introspection, things that we wouldn't look at, things that we wouldn't return to, especially if they're connected to our inner child wounds. I'm changing this pattern and moving forward. And that's what Spirit says, and that's what it's about. It's like I can't do it for them. I can't bring someone in and say, hey, listen, you got to make a left on Parker Street, and it's like it's I'm gonna bring them situations and experiences that their higher self. They get in contact with the higher self. It pushes them out of the ego and the survival mind into the heart, into the intuition. What's the answer? What do I think that person's gonna do? It's again getting that person into the heart. Again, they're not volunteering to go into the heart. It's the way that the universe tricks them. My ego is fragile to criticism and rejection. I've created walls to protect myself. And this is what I just confirmation that Spirit saying, this is why you're witnessing why it looks like this. But is it their love? They're obviously person doesn't stick around for this shit. Like it's like I want to put up with this and change. It's uncomfortable. Life was working mighty fine before you came along. Trust me on that. It's like because I learned to navigate and strategize and always be ahead and never put my heart out there. It's again to protect myself because I got hurt one too many times. People aren't honest because really it's me. I'm the main equation. I'm the person that does it, but it's like I don't know how I do it, so I don't trust me. And that's really what the higher self is like trying to teach this person. Again, and they're afraid. Again, humiliation, punishment. Again, I was ridiculed. It was like it's so, again, I was made to feel as if I was bad. So it's like there's a sense of really nowhere to run at this point. Like, and I say that because it's actually on the card, nowhere to run. But there's also, it's like I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. I have to face those wounds. I don't want to, but I have to. And it's like facing the dragon. And it's, again, to look at those blocks, to look at those barriers, to see where they're stuck, to see where they're paralyzed. This is, again, what those blocks do. It's like, why am I getting in my own way? Why do I keep sabotaging connections? What do I really want? Again, see introspection. Finally, not just living from the ego and the desires and lower energies of passion and, our addictions and things that are going to give us instant gratification, but they don't last over time. They don't create anything. They don't create any stability over time. So over time, if that's where we put our energy, we don't see anything for it. And then it takes energy from us. Where really, again, they want to co-create, they want to collaborate. There's a desire. There is a harmony. There is a synergy. So again, when they tap into your energy, and that's a desire, that's an intuitive thing that they would want to co-create. But there is always a desire to do that with a person that there's unconditional love for. So almost like a friendship, there's a desire for friendship, there's a desire to open up the heart. And so in that, friends always create, they do things together. Um, but it's almost like you'll have to lead, but part of this person's is going to bring certain spiritual energies to whatever it is that you're doing. Things that are, again, are missing from you. Integration, meaning, listen, they're not all broken. They have gifts where you are broken. It's, again, clearly this person doesn't have it in spirituality. Like, or relationships. We can see where their blocks are. They get in their own way, all because of how they feel about themselves, all how they were conditioned to survive in childhood. However, they still bring something to the table. It's like a spirit that would never bring you someone that was, you get nothing. No, because you have healing. And so spirit says, well, I got to bring somebody that's equally in comparison. So, and you might say, so why is this person so broken in relationships? Oh God. And spirit says, I just want you to know that's what your finances look like. Oh God. And spirit says, this person's finances don't look like that. Your finances look like that. It's like they're boring. They don't get along with people. They don't get, but where do you think their mind goes? They're not in the creative mind, but they're in the structured, the analytical. And God says, I'm both. I'm masculine. That's masculine energy. That's grounding energy. That's structure. That's methodical. It's fire energy. It's the bones of things. It makes things work. Where you're creative, you might be like, well, who knows how the rent's going to get paid this week, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. And I'm still going out and buying those shoes. You know what I mean? Where spirit says, oh, we can see you need to integrate certain things, that this person has gifts. So it wouldn't make logical sense. If anything, you'd say, I admire that about them. Well, they admire, again, those traits. But the irony too is, a lot of times as you heal in these relationships, what you admire, you begin to like, it begins to annoy you. What draws the attention a lot of times is what destroys the relationship over time, because the person heals, they change their energy. You help them do that. They love you because of that, but they evolve into a new person, where you also evolve into a new person from the gifts that this person gave to you. So the relationship wasn't supposed to be meant to last forever, but it was definitely a significant relationship. One that the soul will last many, many lifetimes and will meet up many, many lifetimes because there is love. And it's all about, mastering yourselves. Really, that's really what it is. It's again commanding your own presence, becoming the master of oneself. Why would we have to become the master of our own self? Well, if we grew up in an environment where we were taught to undervalue ourselves, and if someone's always giving their energy away and being dutiful and giving their energy and hiding behind facades, well, they were taught that they had to do that. That's what they did to survive. Where spirit says that's what it looked like. And then why did it look like that? You might say. And spirit says, church on Sunday. It was a type of church. It was a type of, again, family atmospheres. It wasn't purpose, but again, it was society. It was cultural. It was what it was. You were taught. So it's outdated. It's like the person's outdated. It's like that doesn't make him a nice person, like going to church on Sunday, but then like, screwing everything like underneath the sun, you know, every other day of the week, and just using people, like trying to look like that good person, but not really that person, not really being your own person. So of course, you being your own person is wow, that's exciting for this person. But they bring things to the table, and there is like again romance. They have affection. They can't explain it, and so again, like the friendship is really um, steps out to me too. And the reason why is because no expectations, no ownerships. I just like you. I don't know how why we became friends. I hated you when I first met you. Thought you were an asshole. Sometimes when people say, when I first met you, I thought you were a bitch. And you're like, wait, you didn't even know me. Well, it's like, but I knew we would be friends. And so, like, where this person's like, I have that energy for you. It's like, and it's unexplained. And that's the first step towards intimacy. So, is it passion? No, because this person has no problem in that department. It's like that's not, they have the problem in, again, the intimacy and trust. And friendship is that, but there is a love, there is a romance, there is a fun, there is a flirtiness, there is about doing things differently, almost like doing things your own way, finally. So this person will again surrender. It's understand that it's going to be like a long journey, and it's that a soul relationship like this lasts a lifetime. Doesn't last a year or 2 years, 3 years. It lasts a long time because you don't learn the lesson and you don't surrender right away. It's like I was pissed off for about 6 months over that little. They took my tic tac. Yeah, that's right. They didn't ask. I feel like they're like the little insecurities. Everything's like a trigger, and it's like the walls come up, and I got to stay back because I got to protect myself, the armor. And then, but then the person looks up from their armor because they're like, but I still have feelings like a child. And so where it's like, here we go. This is going to take about 15 years, this phase, just so you know. Grab your popcorn. Like, hope you like infomercials. And I hope you like it's a little redundant. Yeah, it's because the person has a fear. It's called scared stupid, stuck in a cycle, stuck in a karmic loop. That's why their relationships look the way that they did. There's a lot of trauma to unveil. So it takes a few times where the person eventually now feels foolish because it's like, well, I've done the same thing, but it's like it's not working. And you're like, no, it's not working because you're on a little bit higher vibration spiritually. That's spirit saying you're bringing the spirituality and the relationships and that vulnerability to the table. You may not be bringing your finances to the table, or again, your bookkeeping, your organization skills, your business sense, your whatever it is. That again, you're not bringing that, but you're bringing that, and that's what that person needs. So it makes it a perfect match. It's a divine connection, and it's an important connection. So you're going to see, how do we go from this energy to this energy? And it's because again, that process, it's like until the person actually embodied the situation, they were detached from it. I don't know what it feels like. I don't know what I feel like. That's this person, and it's that frozen, that trauma. So love melts the heart. Again, eases soft, and so there's a desire. So this is good because, but understand it's a process. So it's not an easy process. A lot of times it happens in separation. A lot of times you're angry with the person. A lot of times, but it teaches unconditional love. Like it's like I still love that person. That person's still my person, even though you know it looks that way. Because sometimes you'll be like it'll look like that way, but there is this inner knowing. The key is to make sure that the person finally surrenders, finally comes to a place, and and it's not to wait to for them to do it. It's to be creating your life, obviously, because you'll know if it's true. If you continually create your life, you're always going to meet people and situations and experiences. So you'll know whether you truly love this person or whether you're just stuck on the facade of who you thought that they would be. A lot of times it's that too with karmic relationships. Like if this relationship would have went fast, you would have been in a relationship with a facade, really, because this person they did for everybody else. They wouldn't don't know how to do for you. They have intimacy issues. You had to create the intimacy first, and that happens through trust. So again, you had to pass the test, which is I'm not putting up with this shit. Well, normally I get to trick people. That didn't work with you, and I still have feelings. It wasn't done voluntarily, is what I'm getting at. So, affirmation, I listen to myself and I acknowledge my own needs. I assert myself and retain my power. I am brave and gentle. I don't have to be afraid of others. I respect myself and I am respected by others. And that's what I said that you just taught this person. And that made this person trust you because it's like, I'm not going to put up with it. I'm not going to pretend to be someone that I'm not and say, oh, yeah, everything's great. And then once I like actually am with you, turn into the real person that I am. I'm not going to do that to myself. This is who I am. This person's like, well, I don't like who you are. And then you're like, well, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to be different. I know what I deserve. You're not being true to me. I listen to my own needs. I love myself. It's like, and if that means like I need to walk away from you, I'm going to walk away from you. That you gave this person a chance to figure it out themselves. Where I feel like most people come into this person's life and say, oh, I like what this person does for everybody. So I'm going to tell you who you are to me. And this person doesn't have strong boundaries. They lose themselves in the need and the desire to, again, be appreciated, but they don't realize that it's empty. And their relationships wind up always being empty because they're not built on truth. This is a connection that's actually would what was it built on truth in the beginning? No, this person was an ass. And spirit says, I know, but they didn't want to be an ass. They actually wanted to do the right thing because I wouldn't have came into that person's life. Spirit says the person has got to want to. Please help me. I don't know why my life looks the way that it does, but I'm lonely. I'm lonely. I have feelings. I have a desire. They wouldn't have manifested you. It's again, so that's subconscious. I do want it, but I don't believe I can have it. And Spirit says, not the way that you're doing it, but I'm going to make sure that you see how you do it so you can see how you really fuck this shit up. And then the person's like, I fucked this shit up. And then they have to come back and be humble. They have to come back and ask for forgiveness and surrender. Look at the olive branch. But it's not done without a fight because the person has a lot of blocks to love. And that's just their ego. So, and the spirit's saying it's more about them. So, affirm to keep, if you want to be with this person, you have to really affirm over and over and over to yourself who you are, what you know that you deserve. It's because understand it's not that this person would mean to, but their own insecurity and you being around that, it's like you would get sick. They would trigger you. So if you continually affirm, like, and acknowledge what your needs are and really live in that truth of listening to yourself, well, Spirit says, well, then I gave you the energy that you definitely needed to because you probably lose yourself in other people's energy too. And when it comes to people that you love and that you cared for, you probably also were brought up in an environment that you taught that love meant to give of yourself and that meant to abandon yourself. So you get into codependent relationships. So relationships that really don't work out, they go from really hot to cold to like again it just energy that's uncomfortable that's not supposed to be there. So spirit had to get involved in this type of relationship. So both of you would have to learn balance, and balance comes through your own unique individuality. However, it also comes from co-creating, right? It comes from doing things together. Teaching, whether that's creating something, whether that's playing together, it's just learning to be together in a happy and healthy way, being able to express each other, learn like relearning, reparenting. Only the universe has brought you both together. And as adults, your higher selves know is when the ego gets involved. But again, the universe is involved. So I don't really believe that you're going to deal with too much ego once you're actually in that like comfortable relationship. The key is not to lose yourself. And I think vice versa. And that's hard when there is a lot of unconditional love. You want to do, you want to give. That might be your language where spirit says, you're overdoing it, overdoing it. It's again that you want to hold back because it's not about love. You already know that there's unconditional love. It's about respect. And what both parties were taught that love was probably not, didn't mirror respect. And it didn't mean that, again, people were bad. It's just that was the perception where spirit says it's not, and you get bad results. But there's a desire to want to heal it, to transcend the limitation of that mindset. So that's why the universe conspired to bring these two together. So I'm going to leave that there. I hope you guys enjoyed this reading. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. Sorry, I don't read the comments while I channel a lot of times. I can't do it. So I think some people can do it at the same time. I can. Can't do it. Well, thank you again for sharing your energy. I'll be back on hopefully again tomorrow. I'm trying to stay grounded, trying to stay present, trying to stay consistent. All right. Thanks for sharing your energy with me, guys. Bye.